Everyone, how's it going? It's Thomas back at you with another video. Today, I am finally going to be talking about credit card recommendations. I know I've brought this up a few times in my last videos, and I think it's about time that I finally started giving some recommendations. So these cards are going to be specifically for people who are beginning with credit cards. I'll get more into, shall we say, the higher credit score cards in the future. But for someone who's starting off, for someone who's looking to get into credit cards, these are the ones that I recommend. I think they're good, solid cards, and especially if you're not familiar with credit cards, they're a very, I would say, safe way to go. Minimal risk, and that obviously entails minimal reward, but also, it's to get you to dip your feet in water, like get a feel for what it is that you're working with. And from there, you're able to graduate and proceed on to different cards, which offer different benefits, higher rewards, but of course, that also entails a higher credit score. So these cards are going to be for people either with no credit history or a low credit score. And as I said before, these are all good cards. I'm not sponsored by anyone here. None of these cards are a sponsorship with me, nor this is not any paid promotion. These are just this is a genuine promotion on my part of these cards. These are ones I recommend. And I'm gonna say this, and I've said it before many times. Do not fall into the trap of what Dave Ramsey says, where he says that a credit card and a debit card are interchangeable. They are not. They're not interchangeable, and I'm not going to go on and get in a whole tangent about this right now because there's no point. But they're not interchangeable. This is about building your credit so that you can get better benefits down the road. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys the cards that I recommend. Okay, so I have 4 cards here, and 2 of them are somewhat the same card, but I would like to share both of them with you just so you can see what it is that you'll be looking at. Maybe you like a little less risk on one end than the other, so you'll choose to go with the first card. Okay, so going in essentially reverse order here, the first card that I recommend is the Discover It Student Cashback card. Now, this card is for students, and that is college students. I do not believe this is applicable to high school students. I mean, you have to be 18 either way to apply for a credit card. So I guess you could be in high school, but either way, this is for students. And the first thing I want to address with this is, if you are maybe towards the end of your school career, wherever you may be, maybe you're a senior in college, you can still apply for student cards and you can still hold them even after you graduate. Now, what that usually entails is eventually it'll be transitioned into a regular credit card. So it will have a change in some of its perks, most likely, and it will have a change in what it offers or what you get back. So the best thing I can say about that, though, is do your research, find out what it is that this card will do. Sometimes nothing happens. I myself have a college card, and it's been a great card for me. It's helped me improve my credit drastically. It's been the biggest factor. And, I applied for it. I had essentially no credit history. I had a little bit, but nothing noteworthy. And that card definitely helped me drive up my credit score. Now, this is the recommended credit score on it is 630 to 689. However, I think you could fall a little bit below that. Obviously we're looking at a little bit of a higher end score here. And, that might be a bit daunting to some people. But if you're a student, it's a lot easier to get those student cards. I mean, obviously that kind of goes without saying, but these cards are made for you. And so when you apply for a student card, you have a much higher chance of being accepted for that as opposed to just a standard card, because these cards are catered to you. They're like lower rewards, lower credit limit, but they're to draw you in. And so another thing I want to point out is I am trying to show you guys cards with $0 annual fees. And here's the thing. You should not be applying for cards with annual fees if you are starting off in credit, or even if you're in the mid-range game. I do not see a point to paying $100, $500 per year for a card if you are not a serious user of it, and if you're not actually reaping the benefits of what it offers. So, there's a lot of good cards out there with a really high annual fee. But if you are not someone who regularly travels, regularly spends a lot of money, and I'm not saying you should spend a lot of money, but if you don't have that sort of lifestyle, don't live above your means. So stick with the cards that offer those $0 annual fees. And another thing I want to point out is the APR on the card. So that's this one right here. It's 12.99 to 21.99%, which is pretty low for a credit card. But here's the thing. You can ignore all APRs on cards. If you do this credit card thing right, the APR doesn't matter. It can be 80%. As long as you pay your balance on time, this will never apply to you. And that's part of it. You should always pay your balance on time. If you can take anything from anything I ever say about credit cards, the one thing I will always say, and this will never change, is pay your full balance on time. Don't pay the minimum. Don't pay part of it. Your whole outstanding balance for what is due on that statement. You should never carry over balance. Never. That's where a lot of issues start coming in. That's where problems start coming in. That's where your credit score gets affected. You need to have a 97 to 100% on-time payment in order to keep a higher credit score. If it falls below that, you start running into issues because that will start affecting your score. So always pay it on time. And if you pay it on time, that APR should never matter to you. Okay, so now to get back on track, I do recommend this card. It's a good card for students. And a lot of banks also offer student cards. If you have a bank, look into the student cards that they offer, see what it is, the kind of rewards that they have. But this one, and all of these cards are on NerdWallet. So it's a great website that I recommend. So go ahead and take a look at it if you want to look more into credit cards. But it's a great website, and they have a lot of great details about these things. Okay, so now this card, 5% cash back, no FICO history, no annual fee, and no foreign transaction fee. Now, the big thing here is the 5% cash back. And that right there, they listed in the quick facts. You can earn 5% cash back on everyday purchases at different places each quarter. So 5% is a lot of money to be making back. And that's more than most cards offer. Most cards are at the 1% to 2% back. Now, the important thing to notice is it's on a quarterly basis, not a monthly basis. And it also is limited in the places that you can earn it back. But another thing about rewards with student cards is they will reward you for good grades. So it says here, good grade rewards earn $20 statement each credit year, or student credit each school year, your GPA is 3.0 or higher. So you essentially can earn $20 for free if you have a 3.0 plus GPA for every year that you're in school. Now, it's not much, but that's still a perk. I mean, that's $20 is $20. And, I would say take that where you can get it. And like I said, they have the no annual fee, which is great. We don't want annual fees. And it says no late fee on your first payment. We're going to negate that. You will not be making late payments because when you get a credit score, you'll be making your payments on time. No problem. And, that's a good thing. Now, the one big thing that I wanted to point out is that it has no FICO history required. This is a big deal. Your FICO score is like one of the biggest drivers of your credit. And so when that is omitted, if it's not the thing that is determining your ability to get the card, that is a great benefit to have. So it's a great way to build your FICO without actually having it like required to be necessary to obtain this card. Now, the cons that I'll say about this is it's a student card and that it is Discover. So Discover is not a widely accepted card. It's not widely accepted everywhere. So that does pose problems with your ability to use it. Now, that's not so much a problem for a lot of online merchandisers. Most online merchandisers will accept Discover. However, you're more like mom and pop shops and small businesses don't accept Discover. So that would hinder your ability to use it as much as you would like to. And also the thing with student cards is you also tend to have a lower credit line every month. So, those vary for each card. And this honestly depends on what the card company decides to give you. Usually a student card doesn't exceed $1,000 for a line of credit. It's usually what they're willing to give. And honestly, if you're spending more than $1,000 a month, you're probably looking for more than a student card as is. So that's my first recommendation. My second one, and it's the kind of the same one in a sense, it's the Pedal 1 Visa and the Pedal 2 Visa. Now, I prefer the Pedal 2 to the Pedal 1, but I'm going to go walk through these because they essentially have the same sort of attributes to them. So these are Visa card, and that's the one big thing I want to point out is Visa cards are accepted everywhere, no matter where you, with the exception of foreign travel that you'll be looking at probably some problematic things there. But as far as domestic use goes, the Visa is accepted everywhere. And so this card is great for starters. It has a wide credit range in there. And the thing they point out on their website is they don't rely on your credit score. They rely on your cash transaction history. So they look at your income to spending flow to see what your worthiness is of like how reliable you are with your spending. So if you prove to be a good saver who saves up a good amount of their money and doesn't spend it all the minute you get it, you are a good candidate for this card. Now, this card, the Pedal 1 is 2 to 10% cash back from select merchants, and you can have anywhere from a $500 to a $5,000 credit limit. And once again, APR 20% to 30%, which I'm rounding up here, but like I said, we don't care about that because we're not going to be worried about those. It does report to all three major credit bureaus, which is nice. You want to be able to get your info into all of those, all three. Now, obviously, your FICO is your really big one, but you don't want to count out the other ones either. Those are your TransUnion and your Equifax. Now, NerdWallet lists the pros as no annual fee, no security deposit, and potential for rewards. And the no annual fee, again, it's a great thing to have. You shouldn't have annual fees. And this card, being a Visa card and offering cash back with no annual fees, is a great attribute. Now, the potential for rewards. The one thing that I will say, and this is the reason I like the Pedal 2 better than the Pedal 1, is that this is 2 to 10% cash back from select merchants. So on their website, they say that when you share your location, it will show you like in their app where it is that you can receive rewards or cash back from merchants. So you have to share your location, and they have their own app, which I think is very beneficial. You can have a much better grasp on your control of your spending and what kind of money it is that you are, where it is you're spending it, how much you get back, your ability to turn your card on and off. I do not know if they have the ability to view your credit score from their app, but I imagine they do. And so cards that include apps are very beneficial. Makes it much easier to pay. makes it much easier to track your spending, makes it much easier to track your rewards. And also, I want to point out that their $500 or $5,000 credit limit. This will depend on how they deem your credit worthiness. So a minimum of $500 per month, maximum of $5,000. I personally think $500 a month is somewhat of a low credit limit, but I think that, if you're starting off, a couple swipes of your card now and then is not a bad thing. So the reason I say 500 is not a lot is because you want to keep your credit spending within 20% of your limit. And so if you have a $500 credit limit, that means you can only spend about $100 a month, give or take, without it having a drastic effect on your score. Now, there are people who will say, get close to that limit, spend it to the max, and then pay it off before your statement balance, and it'll show zero. That's playing with fire, in my opinion. I don't recommend that. I recommend stay within that 20% limit. That's what I've done, and it's been beneficial for me. So I would say $100 a month, it's not a lot of spending, but if you're starting off, $100 here, $100 there, like if you want to pay for gas with the card, or if you want to pay for like groceries with the card, it's not a bad deal. It's a little bit here and a little bit there. And plus, $100 bill every month is not a bad deal either. So I think there are definitely perks to this card. I think if you're looking to go small, if you're looking to start off simple, this is a good card. So I want to contrast it with the Pedal 2, which is essentially, it's the same card, but a little higher scale. So this is the Pedal 2. It's also a Visa. And basically, same thing as I said before, everything applies, but the difference is that you can earn up to 1.5% cash back on making 12 on-time monthly payments, 1% cash back on eligible purchases right away, 2 to 10% cash back from select merchants, and a $500 to $10,000 credit limit. So the 2 to 10% still sort of in the middle there, where you have to share your location with the card and it'll show you eligible cashback locations, but you do get that additional 1.5% cash back for every year that you pay back on time. So this is less than other credit bureaus. Credit companies, most of them will do it on a monthly basis. However, this is on top of the 2 to 10% just from spending with the merchant. And it also says 1% cash back on eligible purchases right away. So you could be making almost 4% cash back with your purchases, which, is right in line with some of the more top credit cards there, where 5% is a pretty standard rate. So you're right in line with it. And then the credit limit now is up to $10,000. So I don't think most people starting off will have a $10,000 credit limit or will need it. But I like the flexibility and the higher ceiling there as opposed to the $5,000. Now, of course, you could be deemed once again at the 500. It depends on what they deem your credit worthiness, but you have a much wider range. And once again, it's not based on your credit score. They base it on your cash flow history. And so it basically is, it's similar to the other, it's very similar to the Pedal 1, where very similar perks, similar, exact same system of approval, but better rewards and a much higher credit limit. Now, they do request a higher score, 630 to 850. However, this card, I would suggest, is a better card as opposed to the number 1. And that's because of the more rewards you can get, the higher credit limit that you can get, and also the, I would say more flexibility with it. If you're looking to start off, I think you'd want some of that leg room. You don't want to be constrained into like a card with fewer benefits. So this card, if you're looking to like have a little bit more exploration with your card, if you're wanting to have some more options with it, I recommend this. If you're looking to be a little more safe, you're wanting to be more reserved with it, the Pedal One would probably be your way to go. Either way, they're both good cards and a good way to start off. And so then my final card on this, my final card that I recommend is the Discover It Secured Credit Card. I highly, highly recommend this card for starting off. This is my number one pick. This card, and this video is going to look like it's sponsored by Discover, but this card is great. And, you can look up YouTube videos for top recommended credit cards. Everyone says the Discover It Secured Credit Card is the number one card for getting a credit card. And let me tell you why. The big thing is this is a secured card. People who don't have credit history, people who have a low score, secured cards are your best friend. These are basically the lifesavers of bad credit or no credit or non-existent history. And this is because you do not they do not have to worry so much about your credit worthiness. And the way it works is you will pay a flat fee, a one-time fee, basically, to the company. For this card, it's $200 minimum. So you'll pay that amount, it goes to the company, and then that is your credit limit per month. And if you exceed that amount, they will take whatever it is that you put in and cover it. You will obviously have the card shut down at that point, but that's your credit limit. And so you basically set your credit limit here. Now, for this card, it's a minimum of $200. So that means if you're wanting to spend about $1,000, or if you're wanting to spend a couple $100 a month, you'll need to put a couple $1,000s into it as a secured card. But the big thing about this card, and things change over time. So, whether or not this holds to be true in the future, I can't say for certain. But as of right now, with this card, you can start off as a secured card. And if you use it correctly, if you prove that you are careful and reliable, you use it effectively, you are able to graduate to an unsecured card. So suppose you put down $1,500 into this card, you keep your credit limit low, you pay your bills on time, you hold it for about 6 months to a year, you can call the company and say, hey, I would like to make this an unsecured card. And if you have followed all their steps, then they will put it into an unsecured card and give you a line of credit and refund you that amount that you put into the card. So it's not lost. And that's another thing. If you close the credit card, you will still get that amount back. So you have not thrown money into the wind. It's not gone. But the big thing is that they also have rewards, which all the other ones do too, but you earn 2% back on gas and up to $1,000 on combined purchases each quarter, plus 1% unlimited cash back on all other purchases. So you can earn up to $1,000 from gas and restaurants alone. Now, I don't know anyone who's going to be spending about $20,000 in gas and restaurants every year, but 2% cash back on gas is a pretty big thing for me. Like, I do a lot of driving, and also 1% back on everything else. So you're earning almost 3% back on a majority of your purchases there. And also, since it's a secured card, you have a much higher chance of getting approved. Now, once again, the downside to this is it's a Discover card, which means it's not as widely accepted everywhere. And that, is a bit of a downside. But we're looking to build your credit. So the intent is that you will not be spending money on your credit card everywhere you go. You'll be using it responsibly and building that credit, building that line of credit. And so that way, when your score is improved, you can now get into other cards with bigger benefits. But, this is a great starting point. This is probably the best starter card for everybody. And that's what I like most about this. This is the one I recommend. Anytime someone asks me, what card should I start off with? I recommend this one because you set your credit limit and you have an ability to get an unsecured card. It is very flexible with users, and it's very, very useful as far as building credit goes. So these are the cards that I recommend. If you have any questions, please reach out to me in the comments. And, obviously, I love the topic of credit cards. I'm very excited. I get very excited about them. I'm very passionate about it. And so please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Otherwise, that will conclude this video. I hope everyone has a happy Memorial Day. And if you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time.